Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Daily Faded. I am Hetz. And this is where we get faded and talk about the politics and news of the day. It's a minute or two late there, so I'm going to wait for a couple of people to drop into the stream. My second lighter is now not working. The one I had to run into the house to get the other night is now not working. So luckily, there's always a backup. Anyway, so, oh my goodness. Will we even be able to make it through tonight? I don't know. Is Chris Hayes a Bernie bro? I never really thought Chris Hayes was a Bernie bro. First off, Chris Hayes is at MSNBC. Nobody at MSNBC is a Bernie bro. They fired them all. But boy, Fire Chris Hayes was trending all day on Twitter. And Chris Hayes was trending all day on Twitter because he reported about the Tara Reade allegations against Joe Biden last night. And centrist Twitter was a Twitter. Chris Wallace over the weekend. So CNN and MSNBC did exactly what the Democratic Party wants them to do, which is they agree with him on much, but he is a decent journalist. He's maybe the only decent journalist left at Fox. So I really have no problem with her going to Chris Wallace, but I really wish it, she said that she wished she could be interviewed by Gayle King at CBS, and I would prefer Gayle King over Chris Wallace. I would prefer someone who is perceived as neutral, even though they would inevitably not be neutral. And then, yes, so even the Washington Post editorial board called on Joe Biden to directly answer the charges that Tara Reade has made. And what's fascinating about that is that, as I mentioned the other night, was that last night? I guess that was last night. Some people like Kamala Harris have said that Joe Biden vehemently denied the charge, when in fact, Joe Biden hasn't said anything publicly about it at all. His people have denied the charge. But that's not good enough. That's not good enough. One of my favorite some other stuff. Gavin Newsom ordered the beaches in Orange County closed. He called it a hard close after there were a lot of crowds at Huntington Beach and other Orange County beaches last weekend. So California is remaining somewhat strict. Look, man, I'm anti-authoritarian at my heart, even though I guess I believe in big government. But I believe in a government that works for the people. And what the people need right now is for people not to be on the beaches, for people not to be congregating in large groups. So anyway, so it's a hard thing to say I approve of a hard close down of the beaches in Orange County. That's hard to say because I love the beaches. I love living in Southern California. And being able to go to the beach is a great thing. And, but we got to do what we got to do. So Wall Street had its best month in 33 years, partially because it has been artificially inflated by all of the bailout money going to large corporations and Wall Street. All that unaccountable money that we don't know anything about, over whom Trump fired the inspector general. and we haven't seen any oversight from Congress yet. All that money that's going out there is propping up the markets. If the economic downturn persists, which it will, because it is massive, 30 million people are now unemployed as of today's report. From the last 5 weeks, 30 million people unemployed. That is a massive, massive recession. So the Wall Street prices are just complete bullshit. It's a house of cards. It's nonsense. And Stephanie Ruhle on MSNBC had an amazing realization. The stock market is clearly disconnected from the real economy, she said. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Really? You think working people didn't know that the real economy that they live with? Oh my God. And then to make it even better, Stephanie Ruhle tweeted that quote of her on MSNBC. And then the first to respond was Jennifer Rubin. Quote, as never before, and you talk about populist outrage, ours might want to stop bragging about the stock market. What a sight to behold. Jennifer Rubin saying Republicans should stop bragging about the stock market. Bizarro times we live in, just bizarro times. So yeah, 30 million unemployed in 6 weeks. I wrote 60 weeks in my notes, but it's definitely not 60 weeks. It's definitely 6 weeks. That's 1 out of every 10 Americans, and it is 18% of the U.S. workforce. So that's a shit ton of unemployment. We still have many, many worlds of hurt in store for us. Cheerful night. I don't want to report that because it's bad news, but I wrote it down. New Jersey reported 460 coronavirus deaths, its highest single-day death toll yesterday. That was part of why we had a very high death toll in the last 24 hours. The U.S. naval ship Comfort has departed New York, so that is good news that New York no longer feels like it needs the comfort there. Boy, I tell you, I hope we don't start breaking down field hospitals only to have to rebuild them again. I hope. So check this out. The Hill published a Hill-Harris-X poll. I want you to remember that Trump's handling of the coronavirus situation he's at about 60% disapproval, maybe a little bit higher. I'm not sure. He may be over 60%. But nonetheless, President Trump and the presumptive Democratic nominee, Vice President Joe Biden, are neck and neck in a new Hill-Harris-X general election matchup. Biden received 42% support in the new survey, while President Trump trailed 2 percentage points behind at 40% within the poll's margin of error. 5% of registered voters polled said they would prefer to vote for someone else, while 4% said they would not vote at all. 9% of voters are still unsure. There is not an excited electorate to elect Joe Biden. He should be screaming past Donald Trump. I mean, screaming past him. It's really, really sad, and it's really, really weak sauce. God, they're doing it again. They ran a terrible campaign in 2016, and they're doing it again. I have a lot of notes on Trump today, but I don't fucking feel like talking about Trump. So I'm going to talk about something else. I'll say this. Trump said that Joe Biden should respond to the Tara Reade allegations. Okay, Trump, whatever. God. And he said that he had seen evidence to make him believe that the novel coronavirus known as SARS SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID-19, was created in the biolab in Wuhan. So what do you say to that? Is this just conspiracy theorist in chief? Just, one of the journalists pointed out that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Office of the DNI, guys, I'm tired tonight. Sorry about that. The Office of the DNI released a statement today or yesterday that it has no intelligence whatsoever to indicate that, or they have the intelligence, I don't know, that the Office of the DNI think that the coronavirus came about naturally, was not created in a lab. So Trump was asking the reporter, "Oh, who told you that? Who told you that? Who told you that?" It was annoying. So the gang all got back together today, and that was a sight to behold. Bernie Sanders did a live stream with special guests Elizabeth Warren, Pramila, and Mark Pocan. And I was entertained by Bernie simply referring to the very stable genius instead of saying Trump's name at one point. Liz Warren was super great. I'm ready to bury the hatchet on the Bernie Warren thing, but I still don't trust Elizabeth Warren. So I'm still a little bit wary of her. I have to say that. But that said, at the same time, I would rather see them cooperating and working together than not. She had a good quote in the middle of what she was talking about: data collection and dealing with the disproportionate effects that it's having on the African American community. And I wrote down a quote. She said, "We are progressives who believe in making change and making change now." I like that. I like the sound of that. She was talking about an essential workers bill of rights as part of the next coronavirus legislation. And it's interesting hearing from these four progressives. They do all seem to believe it's possible that they can get what they're fighting through past one way or another. It certainly isn't probable. But you got to fight the fight no matter what. And I'm glad they're fighting the fight. So the Essential Workers Bill of Rights would help essential workers who are disproportionately women, people of color, and low-wage workers, that they would have full health care, that they'd be entitled to PPE, that they would get hazardous duty pay for working during the crisis, that they would have the right to unionize, and there would be protection for whistleblowers. And then she said something about extending this to all workers one day. And I guess I can appreciate the moment and allow for, look, if there's an opportunity to make some progress, we should make the progress we can make. So any of those things that we can get for essential workers, let's start there and then fight the fight to get to the rest of the workers. Jayapal, Representative Pramila Jayapal from Washington, was talking about mass unemployment being a policy choice. Way better to keep workers employed than to pay unemployment insurance. Many don't qualify for unemployment insurance. It's hard to get back into the job market once you're on unemployment. And of course, people lose health care. So she was talking about a paycheck guarantee that would allow companies to get a grant that covers payroll and basic services. Payroll and basic services. Payroll and basic services. Wow. hanging in there tonight. Let's see. Mark Pocan,